Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, pushing his 100% truth of the gospel, waking up and sealing the elect of the nation of Israel through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. And salutation to you, sincere Akim, that are pushing this gospel in righteousness and in sincerity. Okay, so the first scripture I'm going to go to is in the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, verse 6, and it reads, to understand the proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. Okay, so recently I've been watching videos on Jordan Peterson, who is a clinical psychologist, and I'm pretty sure you ask him, you should know him. These Edomites in the Red Pill community, they love his videos or his lectures. I should say his lectures. Anyway, he goes off on a lot of information, as all of these people that have been brought up in Eastern education system would, but which is surprising. You'd think anyway, going to but when he writes on some of the things which he speaks on. I know those red pillars, they love him because of his feminist destroyed with facts and logic videos. And not just even Jordan Peterson, basically, anybody who considers them, you people consider intellectuals on this side. They go for many things, of course, and they use witchcraft and pseudoscience in most or even all of their studies and teach falsehoods. But that is, that's where the title of this lesson comes in, which will basically be that what I just read in the book of Proverbs chapter 1 verse 6. Okay, to understand the proverbs and dark sayings, and because if you go into the precepts, let me get that one real quick. The false science, opposition of science falsely so called. That is First Timothy 6 and going to verse 20, and it reads, O Timothy, 1 Timothy 6 verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. Alright, so going into this word science, I've already did that before. The word is gnosis, which is the Greek word for knowledge. We're not going to go into that again, so that you actually can see it for yourselves. Alright, the word science, which is gnosis. Let me see if I can get that in audio.
Strong's G 1108. Gnosis. Gnosis.
Okay, gnosis. And basically it means what? Knowledge signifies in general intelligence and understanding, the general knowledge of Christian religion, the deeper, more perfect and enlarged knowledge of this religion, such as belongs to the more advanced. That's basically what the word science breaks down to, because science goes back to the Latin word scienta, which also means knowledge, to know. And even the scriptures warn you that not all science, or I should say, not all knowledge is true knowledge as it is written. Because even the scriptures tell you that you have to test everything that you hear. Going into you have to try everything that you hear. Going into the scriptures tell you to try the spirit by the spirit. But before I get that, let me just first get this one in the book of Job 34 verse 3, and it reads, "For the ear trieth words, as the mouth tasteth meat." Right, and we've already gone through what it means to try to check something for its purity, which is what you should do with even information. Right, you separate the meat from the bones, as we always say in this truth, because you can't just readily accept everything that you hear, even if it's one of the elders or the apostles that say it, and even they will tell you this exact same thing. Don't just take their word for it. Look it up. Right, you have to start learning. It is important. It is a vital part of having knowledge to learn how to check things out for yourselves, to make sure that you are what, as the scripture says, persuaded in your own mind. Let me get that, because we're not looking for, all right, we're not looking for parrots in this truth. We're not looking for brothers that will just come into this truth and just keep on parroting what the elders and the apostles say. Just keep on parroting what they hear in other brothers' videos. We're looking for we're looking for our men that have knowledge, that have wisdom, that have the spirit on them, and that spirit will bring out even more information from them. Because we're trying to build each other up. That's what this is. We are all the temple of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and every man is considered a brick. So we are all supposed to be building up each other. And how do we do that? with these proverbs and these dark sayings. So anyway, going into the book of like I can't remember exactly where that precept is in, but it's in the book of Romans chapter 14. Romans chapter 14. As like I lost my train of thought and I forgot where I. Oh yeah, okay, here it is. Romans chapter 14, verse 5. One man estimeth one day above another, another estimeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Right? So you should have. So if you are in this truth, you should be persuaded that this is the truth. That everything that you learned, you should know that you believe in it 100%. And if somebody, as the scripture says, if they ask, and they question you, give answer. And it's like I can't. I'm quoting that wrong, but give answer for the reason of your faith, of your belief, like that. I have to just look for it because I can't remember exactly how it goes. I think something along the line of give answer for the hope of the faith that you have, something like that. Let me see if I can get that. Let me try hope. Here it is. First Peter 3 verse 15, and it reads, "But sanctify," which means to make holy, Yahweh your power in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Alright, going to you, obviously having 100% truth and obviously having a answer for every single question, having that knowledge. But anyway, going back into the lesson. Alright. So what I'm trying to say basically is that going back into the lesson, going back into what I was talking about, of how as the air try and let me just go back to that, so I have to retrace my you have to retrace just to remember what I'm trying to go into. Right, Job 34 verse 3. For the ear trieth words as the mouth tasteth meat. Right, going back into what all these intellectuals in Esau's kingdoms, all these men with degrees, these people that are considered wise on this side, these individuals, they address the people with their claims of science, which in most cases are utter horseshit, alright, that can easily be disproven with three statements, and I'll give you an example. Like for example now, the one that really the one that really gets me the most, that annoys me to no end, that's the evolution madness that devil Charles Darwin made. Alright, so going into that precept, the book of First Corinthians 15 from verse 39, and I'll read it. Verse 39. Right here it is, and it reads, okay, First Corinthians 15 verse 38. But the Most High giveth, yeah, it's okay. First Corinthians 15 verse 39. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another flesh of fish, another of fishes, and another of birds. There is also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial one is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So going into how these different animals have different types of flesh that were created specifically for them, but according to Darwin's evolution theory, that animals can evolve from one form of flesh into another, and that humans evolved from beasts to men. Now, did you know that that monkey that Esau claims he evolved from, aside from being a derogatory roundabout way of calling you Jakes animals, that's you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, calling you animals. And if you can even look up what I'm about to say, he doesn't even know what that monkey, he doesn't even know what monkey that was. Just basically made it is basically what they call happenstance. They just made up that story, and they've used pseudoscience to back it up for all these years. And you can see how foolish the average person is, because so many people believe that nonsense. Right, and also if you go into Esau's so-called creation story, come on, humans have existed for over 500,000 years, but only started developing technology and showing any form of sentience, which the word sentience goes back to the word sense, which means to feel, in the last 6,000 years. These are just some examples, but what I'm trying to say is the scriptures, the proverbs, the wisdom contained in this book gives you an understanding so far beyond anything you could learn in this world. and that is clearly seen whenever any of these theologists open their mouth. The scripture says that I will give you a word that no man can. There we go. Let me get that, because that's beautiful right there. Yeah, it is. Let me see whether I can start from the. Let me see whether I can go up and read from up. Uh, okay, yeah, let me start from the. Looks into 21 verse 15. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. Right, and right, clearly showing you, where the actual knowledge and science comes from. Does it come from Esau's educational system, or from the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh? You know, so to understand the prophets and the saints of the scriptures, that is true knowledge, true wisdom. Because and finally I'm starting to get to my point and the purpose of this lesson. Salaka for taking so long. But right now, more than ever, you have a lot of people parroting the wisdom that are in the scriptures or the warnings of the scriptures, and they look at these men like they are, like they are so wise, like their words are so profound. But wait a minute, you've been with this book for centuries, all right? Going back to, going back to the abolition of slavery, when our people were allowed to read once again, because that's what I'm using. Because if you even go further beyond that, even though even our people that translated this book to English, but basically, just to right give them the benefit of the doubt, they've been with this book for centuries. But it's just going to show that the book was actually that the book was just recently opened, through through the men of the one west, through the men of the one west, and the um the continuation of the continuation through the men of the one west camps, specifically Great Millstone. Right, but going back into what I was going into, these same things that are written within it. Like for example, going into the red pill community, they're going into the red pill, which the many brothers they claim they've already said that they was through the red pill that they found this truth. Even I myself, or watching all those red pill videos, they're going into the madness that was going on in Babylon right now concerning how the woman was put above the man. But wait a minute, even the scriptures, now that I think about it, there's a prophecy about that, and we all know that what that prophecy is. The woman shall encompass. I think that's how the Bible was written. Was it the woman shall compass? Satya. I think it was the woman shall compass the man. Let me see if I can get that. Yes, yeah, I will create a new thing on the earth. A woman shall compass a man. Here it is. Alright, it's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 22. One of in the simplest. But anyway, how long will thou okay, Jeremiah 31 verse 22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For Yahweh hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. And there's another precept that goes into how, as for my people, alright, women and children are their oppressors. But this is this is the prophecy from the Most High. And if you had the understanding of the scriptures, the prophets and the dark sayings, you would know that these things were soon to come. But anyway, as I was saying, they go into the scriptures, they go and bring out the true nature of the woman, which they have learned by observation. But these things, the true nature of a woman, what's how the woman actually acts has been in the scriptures even before the death of our Lord Jehovah Shai. And that the man and the fact that the man is more valuable than the woman because he's the backbone of any society. It's in the scriptures as well. But you see, whenever you bring it out, whenever these red pilled channels bring it out, it sounds as if the people in the comments, they prop them up and make them sound as if they've said something so profound, something that has not been known, or something or information that has never been brought out or revealed, in all the history of humanity. But if you go into the book of Sirach, going into the book of Ecclesiastes, going into the book of Proverbs, you see all these things clearly written. I don't need to. I'm not going to bring out any examples in this video. Alright, just going to point it out. This isn't me getting on the women or anything, because there's always that. remarks that can be made. When these when these red pillars they go on their spiel, I always smack my head, and that whole SMH thing, because they are pointing out the obvious, and their fans are just, like I said, propping them up, lifting them up and praising them, like they just cracked a million year old uncrackable code. And going into history, not even actual historians, and I've checked with their degrees and vast knowledge of the ancient times. Well, even if they do know, they would never tell it to the masses. And I even doubt that Esau would actually teach the real history in any level of education. But guess what? When you read the scriptures, you've got a decent grasp of the history of the planet by roughly 4,000 years. And if you now go into prophecy, now you don't just know history, but you also see the future. You can also foresee what will happen next. Because you now have, because you know the breakdowns, you know the prophecy, only for nobody to listen to you. And then when some random so-called intellectual, not even an intellectual, just anybody that's considered or seen as popular in this world, them that are wise or popular in this world, say the same thing decades later, after you said it, after you have warned of it. Once again, the trend of him being lifted up, like he cracked some uncrackable code, when all you have to do is just be that diligence, to study and gain understanding. As the scripture says, that's in the book of Proverbs 14, verse 15. Let me see. Proverbs 14, the 15th verse. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. Right, so now, and the answers are all already right here in the scriptures. All you have to do is, and it only goes for the Israelites. You look into the scriptures, see it for yourselves, give that diligence, study, gain that understanding. Going into the books and going into the breakdowns, and you get the understanding of the dark sayings, you get the understanding of the proverbs. But anyway, I'm just going to end it there. And let's give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Wadash. Shalom.